Stanford University.
The brachial plexus is formed from the anterior primary rami C5, 6, 7, 8 and T1. This is the 5th cervical, 6th, 7th, 8th and the 1st thoracic anterior primary rami. Now these rami give rise to the roots of the brachial plexus. So here is C5 root, and this unites with C6 in this fashion to form the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. The anterior primary ramus of the 7th cervical nerve passes on without joining anything and forms the middle trunk of the brachial plexus. Roots from C8 and the 1st thoracic unite to form the lower trunk of the plexus. Now this takes place in the posterior triangle of the neck. Each of these trunks now divides into anterior and posterior divisions. The posterior divisions will unite to form the posterior cord of the brachial plexus. The anterior divisions will pass on, and the anterior division of the middle trunk will unite with the anterior division of the upper trunk to form the lateral cord of the plexus. The anterior division of the lower trunk continues as the medial cord of the plexus. So far, let us see what we have formed. We have the roots from the 5th cervical, 6th cervical, 7th cervical and 8th cervical nerves and the 1st thoracic nerve. The upper two roots unite to form the upper trunk. The C7 root forms the middle trunk, and the 8th and 1st thoracic root unite to form the lower trunk. Now these three trunks, 1, 2, 3, divide into anterior and posterior divisions. The posterior divisions are indicated in a darker yellow, and these unite to form the posterior cord of the plexus. The anterior division of the middle trunk unites with the anterior division of the upper trunk to form the lateral cord of the plexus, and the anterior division of the lower trunk continues as the medial cord of the plexus. Now let us consider the branches from these different parts of the brachial plexus. From the 5th, the 6th and the 7th roots there is formed the long thoracic nerve, which descends in the posterior triangle of the neck behind the brachial plexus, and then, as we've seen in this diagram, passes over the outer border of the first rib and descends over the serratus anterior as the long thoracic nerve. This is the nerve supply to this muscle, and should it be injured, then the scapula will move away from the posterior wall of the thorax, a condition known as wing scapula. So this is the long thoracic nerve, the nerve supply to serratus anterior. From the 5th cervical nerve, or the 5th cervical root of the plexus, there is a little nerve here known as the dorsal scapular nerve. The dorsal scapular nerve. This will supply the levator scapulae and the rhomboid muscles. This point here is often referred to as the Erb's point, the point where the 5th and 6th cervical roots unite to form the upper trunk. Here we have the suprascapular nerve, which crosses the posterior triangle and will eventually supply the supraspinatus and infraspinatus muscles. And here is a small nerve which descends in front of the brachial plexus, and as we shall see in this diagram, crosses the front of the subclavian artery to supply the subclavius muscle. Its importance clinically is that it may contribute the 5th cervical nerve to the phrenic nerve and become an accessory phrenic nerve. Now let us consider the branches of the cords of the plexus. We have here the lateral pectoral nerve. The lateral pectoral nerve coming off the lateral cord of the plexus and supplying the pectoralis major muscle. The lateral cord this is not quite in the right position, it should be a little lower down. This lateral pectoral nerve supplies the pectoralis major, and the remainder of this lateral cord comes on down and becomes the musculocutaneous nerve and the lateral root of the median. The medial root of the median is coming from the medial cord of the plexus. So here we have the musculocutaneous nerve, the lateral root of the medial root of the median, and the median nerve. Turning now to the posterior cord of the plexus, we see that it divides into two terminal branches. One large branch, which is known as the radial nerve, and a smaller branch, which is known as the axillary nerve. There are other branches in this intermediate area, an upper and lower subscapular nerves, which supply the subscapularis muscle. In addition, the lower subscapular nerve supplies the teres major muscle. And then in the middle here, we have the thoracodorsal nerve, which passes down on the posterior wall of the axilla to supply the latissimus dorsi muscle. Now let us see what the branches are from the medial cord of the plexus. We have a medial pectoral nerve, which will supply the pectoralis minor and major. The medial cord gives rise to the medial root of the median, as we have seen. It also gives rise to the important ulnar nerve, which supplies all the small muscles of the hand, and gives rise to the medial antebrachial cutaneous nerve and the medial brachial cutaneous nerve, which will join up with the second intercostal nerve to form the intercostal brachial nerve. So let us just review again the branches of the cords of the plexus. We have the lateral pectoral nerve coming off the lateral cord of the plexus, the musculocutaneous nerve, the lateral root of the median. Off the posterior cord of the plexus, we have the upper subscapular and the lower subscapular nerves, and we have the thoracodorsal nerve. We have the terminal branches here, the long radial nerve, the largest branch, and a smaller axillary nerve. We have from the medial cord of the plexus, the medial pectoral nerve. We have here the medial brachial nerve, which joins with the second intercostal nerve to form the intercostal brachial, and we have the important ulnar nerve and the medial antebrachial cutaneous nerve. Now what we must do now is relate this brachial plexus to the axillary artery in this drawing. Let us first of all be quite clear that all three cords of the brachial plexus are lateral and above the first part of the axillary artery. So I'm going to indicate here three fairly thick nerves indicating the three lateral cords, the three cords of the brachial plexus lateral to the first part of the axillary artery. And of course these nerves are going across this and are lying in the more anterior plane. These arteries are lying in front of the nerve. Now we will continue the lateral cord of the plexus downwards. Passes down, and so that the lateral cord is lying lateral to the second part of the axillary artery. That is, that part of the axillary artery that lies behind the pectoralis minor. The posterior cord, which I'm going to put in a darker color, passes posterior to the second part of the axillary artery. And the medial cord passes behind the artery and lies on the medial side of the second part of the axillary artery. In other words, it crosses behind here and lies on the medial side. So the three cords take up their correct position in relation to the artery. The lateral cord is lateral, the posterior cord becomes posterior and disappears behind the artery, and the medial cord is medial. Now let us consider the terminal branches of the lateral cord. First of all, we'll bring down the musculocutaneous nerve, and this runs down, and we shall see later, will pierce the coracobrachialis, supplying it, and will supply the muscles in the anterior compartment of the arm. The lateral root of the median continues down as a direct continuation of the lateral cord of the plexus, and there we're indicated in that position. Now, Let us consider now the terminal part of the medial cord of the plexus. This comes down medial to the third part of the artery, and